go.
Two boys.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 315th episode of the Geek First
315.
Podcast. Hey, yeah, we're chugging along. I am proudly the clown prince of podcasts, Travis Snell.
That's what it's all been culminating towards.
It really has
right?
been.
Yeah.
And even before this movie was announced,
Yeah,
you started that name
Yep.
in hopes that this would one day happen. I am the Adam Hart caster, Dylan Musk.
I am Tyler Wayne, podcaster.
He's waiting.
Tyler Wayne podcast.
He's waiting for the movie just called Wayne, which might
That
not.
sounds like a Spidey goon, not like a full boss, but like a goon level boss.
Oh yeah,
you
I'll
know?
take it.
Who stole the money? Oh, it's Tyler Wayne, podcaster.
He uses his voice in radio signals.
That's
to
not-
take
yeah,
out-
I feel like you don't need podcaster in the villain name though.
But-
Just Tyler Wayne.
No,
But maybe- but
without
Or do
it,
we
then I
want
think.
podcaster. It's
But
like
that's what defines.
that's
the
like my
character.
villain handle.
That's like Condiment King. He has no
Yeah.
personality if
It's
it
like,
isn't for the condiment.
I'm the podcaster, Tyler Wayne.
Well, yeah, and that could be your origin.
Sure.
You were just a
Yeah.
podcaster. You got
Mhm.
these powers, then you can influence people over
Yeah.
the airwaves and
Mm.
whatnot.
And I'm notorious for they can never find me physically,
no.
but you can always hear me speaking over radios and such.
Yeah, and they got to
Right.
there's something where Spidey has a tape recorder and he's listening to find the
Yeah.
podcast and where it's coming from and whatnot.
Similar to the Riddler, I'm like a mysterious voice and I set up puzzles.
Yeah. These
No,
guys
but
aren't
then you're kind of just ripping off the Riddler. I think you
No,
need
but
to-
I don't set up puzzles.
the
That's
Riddler,
thing.
the podcaster.
Yeah.
These guys aren't talking about Joker. So I'm going to get some plugs out of the way very quickly. Then, yes, we're going to talk about Joker. November section. November section.
It's a good section of the year.
In the November
Always big
section,
game updates.
we are doing on November 2nd the 24-hour Extra Life charity stream. This is our third one. We are trying to raise $1,500. Dylan Musk is going to shave his head clean bald. We have lots of fun
For
stuff.
the fans
For the
and for the
fans.
kids, because
Mhm.
no one else is going to. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
I know. Briggs
it's okay.
might.
Yeah,
Briggs
we gotta have a
might-
shave.
Yeah. Dylan Musk has come back to singles competition. We have a tournament for the main gauntlet title this year. We have a sports title 3-way and got other stuff we're going to announce, so it's big. All I got to say is it means a lot to us if you can support us, if you can come,
Yeah.
whether you watch, donate,
Tell your
spread the link.
friends.
Yeah, because this is honestly this is big and Endgame is big, but I still am flabbergasted that we've raised $1,500 for charity. Like
Mhm.
we've raised that money ourselves. So if you help us
Just
hit,
from playing video games.
yeah, if
in a
you
room.
if you help us hit this goal with our past years and this year's, that would be $3,000, and that would be crazy.
That's pretty
So
good.
yeah, like all this is fun, but that is honestly the most special night because it's one, we've always hit it, but two, it's lots of fun, and three, it's just we're actually doing stuff for.
Yeah.
We're actually
We're all about cheap plugs here, the Geekiverse, but that's not a cheap plug.
No,
That
no, no.
is for a good cause.
We're
So.
actually staying up and playing games for a good cause. We're doing stuff to help the kids, and I have kids. Jessica have kids. It's a scary thing in the hospital. Luckily, I've not had any problems, but I know that other people
I was
that have.
once a kid.
Yeah, and you had problems. You still got
I
problems
had a
now.
lot of problems.
Yeah. But if
Mm.
the BC Children's Hospital would help Dylan out when he was a kid, and that's
If we
what
had
it's
your
for.
donation, I would be okay.
Exactly. So, like I said, anything helps. A small amount, a share link. Come tune in. November 2nd is going to be lots of fun.
Mhm.
Next week, we have a Watchmen retro and a Zombieland retro dropping, so you want to get to that.
Dang.
Watchmen is dropping on the TV show, and then Zombieland is dropping in honor of the movie, which you guys will be reviewing in 2 weeks, October 18th
That's
now,
the one,
ish, around there. So
Mhm.
those retros are dropping. Star Wars commentary tracks. We've released the first 4 we did. The next 4 are going to be coming out in the next 4 weeks, and then after that we have Solo right before the Mandalorian, and then we'll be doing a Last Jedi one. But in the next 5 weeks, you're going to get every week there'll be a new, Star Wars commentary track, and it's been fun.
Oh
you
my
guys been
God.
listening to that. And it's I've
The
even
rest of
listened-
this year is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
December might cool down a
Yeah.
bit,
Mhm.
pun intended, but it's going to be fun.
But we have some other stuff planned. We got movie previews, game previews. We're gonna
True.
keep you coming
One last
along.
plug. Check out my Link's Awakening review
Mhm.
on both YouTube or podcast, or both, because I put a lot of time into it, and I'd appreciate it greatly.
You
Thank
can always do both. That's great. Leave a review for it. Leave a like for it. Subscribe for
Yes.
all reviews, whether it's gaming, movies, TV. We're going to do it a bunch. And talking about movie and TV, my last plug is next week. Me, Kirkland, and maybe Taylor, if we can finish the series beforehand, are going to be reviewing El Camino on Netflix. It's a Breaking Bad movie. It's crazy this is happening.
Get Briggs in there. You've seen all of Breaking Bad, haven't you?
I sure have twice.
Oh, well, then you can join us.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know that because I
I'll
swear
hop on that.
I talked about it in the group chat, but even Kirkland's like, oh, yeah, I've watched it. I was like, okay, then I don't need to Skype call in for a review. You're in. Then Taylor's like, oh, I'm watching it right now. Yeah, if you want to, we're going to review that next
Yeah.
week.
I
So
think anyone who isn't
Oh,
me,
yeah.
you, or Taylor just feels intimidated by our group
that's
chat
true.
because they just show up and there's lots of messages and they don't know
Mhm.
what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
I don't blame
Yes.
them.
Yeah, and if you like what I do, please, if you like what I do, or Dylan does, or Briggs does, or what all 6 or 7 of us do, leave a review on iTunes. We need a written one that we're trying to get to 200 reviews. That
We
would
don't
mean
need
a
it, but
lot.
we'd really like it.
Yeah, if you like
Yeah.
this podcast and want to help us grow the channel, that helps. So anything
It
else that
does.
I'm forgetting before we jump into this spicy review?
the polls are done now, I guess. I
Yep.
don't know.
There's gonna be Halloween dropping one soon on the Facebook.
Yeah,
That's
so
gonna be fun.
Go check that out.
Yep.
That'll be fun.
Facebook, Twitter, go there. So let's get into this.
Yeah.
2019's Joker. If you've not joined us for a review before, we're going to do non-spoilers for a little bit, and then we'll give you a big warning. We'll give you a 3, 2, 1, and then someone's going to say 3, 2, 1 because I'm saying Geek versus Symbol on this one because this is my boy. You
Is
know?
there a DC equivalent? Like,
Is
there? What is Justice League?
Release the Snyder Cut would be the DC equivalent.
Does Justice League have like a phrase that they say to rally the troops before a big moment?
I think they used to say something about the Super Friends in like the 60s.
Superman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's maybe it's not in tune for this, but go back to Endgame and it'll all
Sure.
make sense. Briggs, I'm going to start you because I know how Dylan feels, but last night I felt you were still kind of working through some thoughts, so that's why I'm starting with you because I'm interested to see what you're thinking.
Yeah, I really liked the film. It was it's hard to say. It has
It was
some twists.
A lot or hot?
A lot.
Oh, I thought I heard hot.
That was a combo word. He's being efficient.
I started saying something, but then I didn't really know what I was going to say. So I just kind of zoned.
Yeah.
I just kind of phased it out. It was a lot to take in. It had some nice little twists and turns. And I mean, Joaquin Phoenix's performance is just absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his performance, it gets better as the film goes on. As the character of Joker develops, he just embodies the character. Just like it just gets better and better and better and better. And then at the end, it's just an absolutely phenomenal performance. And it's a very, I don't know if I'd say unique, but it's just a very unforgettable and powerful Joker that I can only relate to Joaquin's performance.
Mm-hmm.
So just absolutely well done by him. The pacing of the film is good, I would say. It felt a lot longer than 2 hours, but not in a bad way.
Yeah. Not
in a bad way. There's a few points where I'm not going to say there were I didn't like it, but it felt a little over the top, I would say.
Okay.
A little shoehorned in. But other than that, like I have absolutely no complaints. It very much did focus on Joker's character. There was a lot of things going on in the world around him, but you never really got to see like a huge part of what was going on in the world around him. You would see news. I thought it was really well done. A lot of what was going on around you saw through newspaper headlines and such, which was a really neat touch to show that the world is still moving around him, but it's still his story. And so it focuses on his character and his personal story rather than there's these events going on and it's like, it's what's his spot in these events.
Yeah.
But this one is just his story, and he kind of develops outside of what's happening in the rest of the world. It's sort of they're kind of going side by side rather than intertwining, and then at the very end it sort of intertwines, which is really neat and well done. Absolutely wonderful score. Great acting all around as well, not just Joaquin Phoenix. I thought it was really convincing performances by everyone. And yeah, I mean, if you like movies, go watch this. This is
Would you recommend this for everyone though?
I was just gonna add a little PS onto that.
Yeah.
It's a very it's gonna make you uncomfortable. It's gonna be very unsettling in not so much a horror kind of way, but in just like an eerie kind of like this is some messed up stuff. And it kind of just a reminder before going to the film, like Joker is a bad guy. He is a villain and this is his story. It's not going to be sugar coated. It's not going to have a happy ending. It's just this guy he's just not doing great and he goes down the darkest path. And it's a really, really interesting ride to see how he gets to be the Joker.
Well said. I don't want to say too much non-spoilers because I think one thing that I would benefited from this movie is that I didn't really know too much about it going in. Like I knew it was focused on this one character and it's probably gonna be a really like zoomed in version of that because we don't really see that in most comic book like superhero movies. But I think that just kept me so interested the whole time, not knowing a whole lot about it. and that helps because like just every scene, like seeing this unfold was so interesting to me. I think they nailed it. Like I'm usually pretty neutral on DC stuff. It's not my favorite world, but this was by far my favorite DC movie. I love this movie so much. Exactly what Briggs was saying on Walking, like the acting, even like how much the transformation he put on his body to play this character is like it's just gross to see him. And this movie just makes you uneasy and unsettled for most of the movie, if not the whole thing, which is a very strange thing. Usually in a movie you might have like a couple scenes that are kind of grotesque or something, but this, the whole time you just feel like not comfortable in your seat, and that's totally what their vision was and totally succeeded. And for me it worked really well. There is one aspect as well of the storytelling that I love, but I don't want to spoil that because I think it is very special and I wasn't really expecting it. The music is great as well at hitting that unsettled vibe. It's just loud and it just strikes your ear the wrong way in just the right way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
One thing that I think superhero movies, comic book movies in general, kind of fail out a lot of time is world building in giving like the town, city, world, wherever they are, character. But this movie might be the best, honestly, for any superhero movie I've seen in creating Gotham and making this place have an identity and making the place this movie takes place in as a character as well. Something that honestly this genre has not done a super great job at, and this is something special here.
So it's almost as good as Asgard, is what you're saying?
Fuck Asgard. It's like those are opposite ends of the spectrum for me.
Yeah.
Asgard at the very bottom and this Gotham at the very top.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to love this movie because I think I really needed some like DC hype to keep me interested in all this stuff that is coming up. And even if, you know, Wonder Woman 2 whatever is very different style than this kind of movie is, at least I'm like feel more invested in this world a little bit now. So I love this movie so very much, and I highly recommend going to the theater. I'm not sure who to not recommend this for because it is, might rub people the wrong way. And if you don't like feeling unsettled, then this movie is not for you by any means. But I think I listened to enough weird, trippy Pink Floyd stuff to be into that aesthetic generally. So
this is just a personal question for me, not the viewers. Would you recommend it to your parents? Because I know your parents. Because for me, I would recommend it to my dad, but not my mom. I'd say if you want to see us watch this at home. But my dad, he works in psychiatry and stuff like that. So, you'd love this. But
I think I could recommend it to my mom, actually, and not my dad. Funnily enough, because my dad, I don't know if he would get it. I feel like some of it might go over his head or he wouldn't appreciate it, whereas my mom would probably be like, would really appreciate his acting in particular. And even though some of it she'd probably be covering her eyes or something, I think she would still enjoy it. Whether or not I'm recommending it enough for her to go see it in the theater, I don't think that's the case. Maybe she can watch it later, but I don't know. If you're a fan of this podcast, I think you would know that maybe this movie wasn't set up to be like my movie yet. It is one of, if maybe the best movie of the year, and this year has been kind of lacking. So I really, really needed this, and I'm very excited.
Go check out our It Chapter 2 review.
That's all I'll say, because I mean, I'm sure Travis has something very beautiful planned. What do you think?
It's
of this
been
movie,
tough.
Travis?
Well, one, I just want to say I was pleased that Dylan enjoyed it, because I think for you, like, you really look at like the Dark Knight series and you appreciate them as good films, but I wouldn't say you love any of them.
I'm never driven to rewatch them.
Yeah,
like it just doesn't interest me that much. Even if I can see that at least Dark Knight is a really, really well made movie.
Yeah, you just don't revisit, and that's where I was starting my review. Is just I love Endgame. I love the Spider-Man movies. I love Spider-Verse. But man, I hope this spawns more movies like this, because you're saying this. I listened to our Golden Geeks a while back ago. You and Jessica, I don't know, Jessica hasn't seen it, but you guys are like, I don't know if we need another Joker movie. And that's how this whole thing started for a lot of people. And I'll give Dylan credit. He was one of the only people I knew that was like, oh, this could be a good idea. They should do it. But many people are like, this probably won't work. Why are we doing a villain movie? And I think this movie, and Briggs was talking about earlier, it's just, you feel gross, you feel unsettled, you feel like you got a shot of something, but it's not good. You feel like you've got ingested almost like with the Joker's
some
blood.
Food poisoning.
Well, yeah, something you just feel not right the whole time. But like Briggs said, it's a villain movie. That's the way you should.
Yeah.
There's points in this movie where there's stuff to the character that is horror, or for us it's horrifying, but it's triumphant for that person, and it makes sense because it's their point of view, and they really just they just took the gloves off. And I do got to applaud whoever greenlight this, Warner Brothers, DC, because I think it is a big risk. And yeah, it's controversial and some people don't love it. But the fact that they even just, I thought when Logan came out that was a risk, but I think this is even more of a risky movie just because it's just, I feel like you could alienate a lot of people, and it's something that I loved all those movies I mentioned, even going back from like Tobey's Spider-Man, but I don't think there's a comic movie yet that is going to make me think and want to talk to people more than this one. This is just right away. Like, we just sat in the theater last night after for a few minutes just talking like, oh, I saw things this way, I saw things that way, and it was like, oh, I didn't even think about that, It's just like, and this is a movie that I usually can't wait to watch other ones because, I'm just so excited. Like Endgame, I just want to see that battle, see what I missed. But this is just, I really want to watch it again, almost like a Hereditary, something like that, where it's like, how is this on a second watch? Because it's just, and that's where I did feel the closest to a Hereditary, which I didn't love all the way through, but I really, really enjoy. And when it's at its best, I just remember, especially like the ending of Hereditary, you just feel awful the entire time and you're just scared. This movie is like that. It's very scary. It has some like comedic beats, but they're some of the darkest comedy I think I've ever seen in like any sort of movie.
It's not a ha funny. I mean, some people in our theater were laughing it up at some scenes.
Yeah.
Not me a whole lot.
No, it was scary, and it's applauding. These guys said it already. Joaquin he's just a beast. He's just one of those. He just disappears in the role. I don't know a ranking of them, but if I look at all-time great performances, he's up there. It's something, and this is what I love too. This is why I'm just the Joker and Batman, my favorite fictional character. When it's done right, he's just a character that you can just mold to whatever, and that's why I already love just like people talking about like him and Heath, where it's just like they're just so great, but it's like this is just completely different. You would look at Joaquin and think, oh, he's doing the like greasy look in the makeup. It's like, oh, they're kind of going for that Ledger vibe. That's where it ends. He is nothing like the other Joker, and they've just taken it completely and made it their own. But at the same time, as someone that's been reading Joker his whole life, it feels identical to what I would want from a Joker movie. It's everything I wanted and more. And the best way I would compare it, and like Dylan said, I don't want to get into certain stuff because spoilers, but it is almost like Killing Joke. And there's also another book called Going Sane with Joker, and it's just, it's how you'd imagine the Joker is a man who in some stories is insane, and that's what this movie is. It's told from an insane point of view where you're always on the edge of your seat, you're always scared, but then at the same point you're just seeing this character who at some point is just like relishing this, and I think Joaquin just did a great job of doing that. Other actors are good in this, but it's just such a Joaquin show. But I will shout out non-spoilers. Robert De Niro, I still love. I'm excited for Irishman, but like when he's acting, like when he's on, he still really
it's
has
a simple
it.
role, but he nails it.
Yeah, exactly. Which it could have easily just been like he couldn't have nailed it, right? That's a role anybody could just come in because that probably took, I don't know, a day or two of shooting. Like he was there for very small. It's not a big spoiler. It's just he's just a talk show host, but it's really impressive, and it's just I want people to at least accept this as not even that you don't like it, but just I want comic films like this. Comic book movies have to change eventually because if they don't, they die. And this is what you got to do, and you got to do something different. And this
not even change, but just diversify.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. That's a better wording of it. And it's just you need to make something unique, and this is easily the most unique movie I've seen in the comic book genre. It's very risky, it's very ballsy, and I could understand why some people were like a little worried, but I honestly think that people got a little hyperbolic. I think the movie has messages of they make you feel sympathetic at times for this character, but eventually there's a line of like, this is not the route to go. And even to me in this film, they talk about that of like, you can see the consequences of what it is, but it's just, I thought it was handled very well, which it could have been handled very poorly. So in my opinion, that as far as that sort of stuff, the violence, everything, I think it was very well done. And this is a movie that I will watch a lot in my life, but it's an exhausting movie. It is 2 hours, and that's the thing. I would applaud it for being 2 hours, but it felt like 2.5 almost. Because just so much happens, and when stuff happens, you feel the weight of it for a while, and it lets you sit with stuff. It doesn't move too quickly.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah, and you guys mentioned it. The score is just phenomenal. It is a scary, very like. The Joker has a great kind of theme, but it just sets the tone of Gotham, and don't talk about that. This is to me the best representation of Gotham or like any comic book world. It's up there. It's just, you just feel the sense of dread in this city, and it feels gross and disgusting, and it feels like a perfect setup for who this character is going to be and everything, and it just feels lived in, and that's the best thing I could say. Cinematography is fantastic. There's some really great shots in here. So yeah, this is a movie that I will watch a lot in my life, but it's not like, even sometimes like Logan is a heavy movie, but this is even like adding 10 pounds of gold on that in like a good way. It's just very heavy, and it's a movie that it is like The Taxi Driver. It is like King of Comedy. The other one I would compare it to People's American Psycho. It's a beast of a movie, and I'm very proud of them for doing this, and I'm excited that I hope more like this comes down the line, whether it's DC, Marvel, whoever it is. I want them.
Yeah, I'm super curious to see what this spawns
Oh,
within the
yeah.
genre, and even outside the genre. I don't know, maybe people want to make more movies like this.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what that is.
Yeah, I want to jump in quickly before we go to non-spoilers and just say that like this film doesn't feel like a comic book film.
No.
In that like it feels like it's just a dark film that tackles mental illness, and I absolutely love that because it sort of brings a lot more to the table going forward looking at comic book films, because there are a lot of really unique messages, and it's a really unique medium to adapt to the screen as an art form. And this is one of those films that feels more like is more made with sort of a message and a theme in mind, and it was more made as a piece of art rather than as just pure entertainment.
Yeah.
It feels like there's so many things that are, it's just so, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's not just like, oh, you have these good guys and these bad guys.
Yeah.
And even like Civil War, for example, it still has like technically good guys and bad guys, and there's still that kind of linearity.
There's a theme to it, yeah. But
Whereas,
this is just like layered with so much stuff
Yeah.
going on. It pushes the conversation, and that's what I love too. I felt that all the comic book stuff, they still kind of pay tribute to people like that. It still feels that it has comic booky elements, but it definitely feels like they went out to make the movie first.
It
And
doesn't have a lot of the tropes that we have been
exactly
getting used to the last few years.
I would say the only character that feels like a comic book character would be the city of Gotham itself, and in that it has that sort of fantastical, almost dystopian feel to it. And as you said, it was like they did such a good job developing Gotham, where it's like they have like a garbage problem, which that's like the most fantastical thing about this film, and it's not even that absurd really. So it just goes to show how strong of a film this is, and that there's so much more to the genre, which I'm really excited about going forward.
Yeah, and as far as my last who I'd recommend it to, if you listen to this podcast, I'd recommend it. And I think even if you don't love Batman and Joker, I'd recommend it. I'm trying to think if
I can say that personally. Yeah.
Yeah, if you, well, I don't know. If you like I said, if you've seen something like Hereditary or American Psycho or Taxi Driver and it wasn't for you, that's the only type of people I wouldn't kind of recommend to. Or if you just do, and there's nothing wrong with that, but if you do enjoy the kind of popcorn flick action hero-y type, like even if you watch Logan and you're like, oh, that was maybe a bit too heavy for me, this is not one for you. So that's the people, but I think most of the people that listen to this podcast, I would recommend it to. I would definitely go see it.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you're at least interested in the conversation. I think this one will be a big part of the conversation, maybe even at the Oscars, even past the Golden Geeks.
Hoping. So. Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah. And I think this is a film, it's not, as far as right now, we don't know what could spawn, but it's not a part of a cinematic universe. There's no post-credit, no Thanos shows up. But I think it's a movie you don't want to be spoiled, because there's just certain moments and certain
I didn't even know De Niro was in this movie.
Honestly. You didn't?
No.
Wow, that's because you were avoiding trailers.
I was trying my hardest. The only trailer I saw was when we went to, I think, Chapter 2.
Yeah, they played it before.
They played it right in front of me, and I'm like covering my ears.
So yeah, I would. That's exactly who I recommend it to, not recommend it to, and it's exciting time. So we're getting into spoilers. Someone give me that countdown, and then
3, 2, 1.
Geek versus Assemble.
Boom.
First of all, I just want to show that because I don't have my links. I thought there was a chance that when they introduced the laugh as a sickness or something like that, I thought there was a chance that it could get very overdone and too much, especially at the beginning. He's laughing a lot.
Yeah.
But as it progresses throughout the film, and I love the addition of the card, and I love that there's just times where he's laughing and it's like hurting him and he's wheezing and everything.
It just added to that unsettling vibe because there's there's a couple situations where he could have easily got himself out of it, but he just couldn't stop the laugh/cough, and it put him in a bad situation.
Yeah, I want to talk about the laugh too, in that it's really great how they sort of they made that like the mental illness laugh when he doesn't want to. They made it unique compared to his normal laugh when he finds a joke funny, which is still kind of a disturbing laugh. But it's still like you know there's a difference between the two, and both in the way it sounds and how he's acting. And that, like, you can tell he's resentful that he's laughing in this moment. He doesn't want to be. And you can tell he's very uncomfortable. But as the film goes on and he embraces Joker and perhaps how he ends up having to go off his medication because they can't provide that for him
Mhm.
anymore. By the latter half of the film, as he sort of embraces the persona of Joker, you just that laugh where he's like feeling like he's forced to laugh, it just doesn't happen anymore. It
No.
slowly phases out the more insane he gets, and I thought that was just a really neat touch.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And it never
yes.
felt cheesy, which it, yeah, as you said.
Yeah, I
very
would.
well
Yeah, I just was worried at the beginning. I was like, could this be overdone eventually, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just when they use it, and I liked it was effective when they used it
Yeah.
with the mom and the kid. But it's just like if they do this all the time, but they made it work, and I loved like they take something like the Joker's laugh, which is iconic, but they give it a
Mhm.
new spin. But also, I just love that
Yeah.
this movie is very, very serious and very as grounded as can be. But I still love that it's almost in a way you just feel like the Joker is inside him, and it's almost like a Dr. Jekyll Hyde thing where it's like it's
Mhm.
trying to like claw out of him,
Yeah.
and he's trying to push it away. And that's what I love, that it can kind of be taken too. It's like, yeah, it's a sickness, but it's also just like, as people that we've known, like the Joker's been around for 80 years, we know what he's getting. The movie's called Joker, so we know
Yeah.
what's coming. But it's like
Yeah.
this impending, ticking time bomb. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
the Joker's inside you, and like, and there's times where it looks like he might be able to stop it, or there's a way, but just so much happens to him where it's like, oh no, like this, that's why I love those. So much happens to him, but at the same point, he still chooses to end up doing a lot of these bad things,
Oh, yeah.
right? And that's why I love they didn't
Mhm.
just make it always woe is me. He really does. There's a point where it's just he crosses that line. It's too far, and he's just gone, and you can't see him.
Yeah.
Where at least in the beginning, he has that disturbing notebook. He's following the girl, but
Yeah.
you're still kind of like, he's sick. But if someone could get him help, if he could get like even the therapist who is there helping him, it's still just like you can tell, and he's like, oh, I'm doing stand up. She's like, I didn't know that. He's like, I've told you that like many times. You can tell that. Like she's there and asking questions, but she doesn't care that much. She says,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm just like you," but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's just there to check some boxes, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
I love. Like we talked about the non-spoilers, the mental health aspect. It's just I thought they did that really well in the
Mhm.
way of making it seem believable, but also making it seem like there is a path you can take that will get you help. And
Yeah.
also, this is a movie in the 80s, 70s. It's notorious when there was times where those type of shelters got shut down and whatnot. And it shows.
Mhm.
I think that's
Mhm.
obviously a commentary on our thing, or on our world right now, where people talk about how healthcare and mental care needs to be taken more. And you look at this, it gets shut down, and they say, "Oh, or he says like, "Oh, how do I get my pills?" And she's, "Oh, I'm sorry." And it's just like he's just left
Yeah,
out. He's thrown out to
and
the
once
wolves.
again, that builds up the city of Gotham, and that's like
Yep.
what the government there, like that's their choice
Mhm.
and where to cut funding. I wanted to talk about Joaquin because I really have not seen him in like I've seen him in, what was that Johnny Cash movie? What's it
I
called?
walk the line.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I've seen him in.
Brother
so
Bear.
yeah, I've literally not seen anything else. So I think I don't know if it's just because I haven't seen this stuff or whatnot, but I feel like he is kind of underrated. I feel like he's not talked about
No.
all that much. But I mean, like I said in the beginning, just the transformation to his body, because I'm sure he doesn't look like that all the time. But there's scenes like even one where he's just like leaning back on his chair, and then his like the clavicle, whatever it's called, is just like kind of poking out of his chest, and
yeah.
it's just like it just kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies. But I mean, the transformation, the acting to nail that laugh and not make it feel
Yeah.
weird, not make it feel like it's taking you out of the character. And I wonder, part of that could be that I just don't have much perception of this
Mhm.
character. I mean, even when I saw that other movie of his, it was like, I don't know, probably a decade ago or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is just such an amazing performance. I was even surprised by like just how kind of light and jovial his voice is, at
Mhm.
least earlier on. It's kind of like contrasting what you would expect for an evil, maniacal character, but that's not really, it's not like an over the top, colorful superhero villain performance.
It's not like
right?
a Jigsaw, like you want to play a game.
Yeah,
It's just like, oh,
yeah.
this guy's a normal dude
Yeah.
as of right now, you
Mhm.
know? And that's what I love. I feel like you kind of get three versions of Joaquin. You kind of get the beginning where he's just very downtrodden, down on his luck, like trying his best. And then you get in the
Mhm.
middle where you can see him descending in the madness. And then at the end, and this is what I love, that it's just like there's so much
You
symmetry.
mean when he becomes Joker?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like in the middle or even in the beginning, there's times where he's walking around and he's always slumped. He looks so
He's, like,
small.
hobbling, yeah.
But the thing is, he didn't put on any weight when he started playing the Joker. When he's the Joker, he feels so large and his stance is tall, and he feels it's so funny. And like you can see
I
stuff.
think it's even the camera, like even when he becomes Joker,
Mhm.
you can tell that there's kind of like a brighter,
Yeah.
film or whatever it is put over the screen to make it
Mhm.
just kind of pop a little bit, but not too much to make it some happy thing, because it's not. But
Yeah.
it just emphasizes those colors, brightens up that saturation a bit.
And that's why I love when he does officially become Joker. It's not like a snap and he's just completely different guy. He's still kind of the Joker we all know and love. Like he's crazy, he's a criminal, he has a sick sense of humor, but you can still see those moments where like when he's talking to Murray at the end of the show, like he's like making these jokes, but he's like holding back tears and everything like that. You can still see that Arthur's still there, and I think that was really, to me, in my opinion, is hard to pull off, because you would right away just want to do just the once he jumps down the stairs, just he's just fun and wacky right now, but they still. Even when he's talking to Murray in the before they go on stage, everything, he's still Arthur. You know, that's what I love, that he does become the Joker, but he hasn't lost everything. Maybe at the end of the movie, he's maybe lost kind of most of himself, because he's in a pretty bad, like, good state for him, but a bad state. But I just loved that Joaquin, he had so many layers, and that same thing talking about Hereditary. That's what it reminded me of Toni Collette in Hereditary too, where it's just she has to do so much in that movie. That's what this reminded me. Like, he has to do so much in this movie. There's at one point when he's on the subway when they're beating him up, like he's like laughing and crying at the same time. I don't even know how you pull it off as an actor, but he does it. You know, it's crazy.
It's a one in a lifetime performance.
Yeah.
And that was something that I wanted to. I didn't want to mention in the non-spoilers because I think it was such a well done feature. Is kind of the unreliable narrator, because this movie, like a lot of movies are, you might have a couple other characters to bounce off of for perspective on what's happening with the characters of the world or the story, but this is all told from like Joker's lens, right? And so what makes it interesting is that he's unreliable, and you'll get little sequences where he thinks a character is there, particularly the girlfriend, the imaginary girlfriend that he sees with the girl down the hall. When that's finally revealed, I kind of had some suspicions, but not enough to really question it too much. And then when it's revealed, like, that's such a good moment. And then from then on, it kind of just makes you question, well, one, the stuff that you've already seen, and then even from then on, like when he first gets the phone call to be on the show, like I didn't know if that was real or not, and that was great because it adds this level of tension of he's going to the studio, like he's on his way to the studio.
Is he invited?
Yeah, is he invited? Or is he just going to show up and do something crazy? And it's interesting because when you do storytelling like that, it can very easily go wrong where the viewer is like, okay, well this is stupid, like I'm just kind of getting lied to, or like it's just inconsistent
gimmicky,
what's going on. So it's hard to do it correctly, and I think when you have a movie that's just so focused on one character's point of view, this is a great way to spice up that storytelling, and it was so well done and consistent the whole way through, and added just so much tension. So and big props there. And
that's where I, at the non-spoilers, is giving them props for being true to the Joker, because like you've seen the movie was bad, but you read the graphic novel of Killing Joke, and that's where there's an origin story. But even in the middle of that story, he's like, "This is what I remember, but I don't actually know if it's true or not." And it's like even the Joker himself, and that's why I love.
You can't say it, right? You have to show it.
Well, yeah, and that's why I love that in the comics, he's always, if you ever get a Joker story, it's always an unreliable narrator, because he is insane man, and it's just you don't know where you're gonna go. And that's why I love, there's so many tropes as far as that they could have went into and made it gimmicky and made it just like a trick. But I loved the Zazie Beetz reveal. I didn't know 100%, but I was strongly, just because when she did this setup of like, oh, you were following me, and they started dating, I was like, if she's not imaginary and they don't ever touch upon this again, that's gonna be a knockoff for me, because it's just like, I get it, but that's a little too far fetched.
In their right mind.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. You're following me, you want to date, but whether it's the stuff with his mother, they're constantly throwing these curveballs at you, and that's why I love it. If you think about a story from the Joker's perspective, he doesn't know what's going on, and you don't know what's going on, and that's what I think they nailed perfectly from the Joker, and that's the Joker to a T. He doesn't know exactly everything, because he's an insane psychopath, you know. So
yeah, and I thought that was interesting as well with the mother, because of her delusions itself. It kind of mixes up the story and adds some ambiguity there. Mainly with Thomas Wayne, you don't really know what has happened there or what hasn't, and I think that's interesting because I still don't know, and that's not a problem at all. It's not a con. Like, it just adds to the movie. Yeah, because you'll never know those answers, because he is never going to know those answers for sure, and he doesn't need to at the end anyway.
No, he's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really loved the reveal that he didn't have the girlfriend. Just the reveal in the apartment there that was phenomenal. And I love how they then cut away of him leaving the apartment. You don't know what he did with Zazie Beetz and her daughter. Maybe he just left them, or maybe he killed them. Who knows? Maybe he raped them. Like, there's so many, like, because you see him walk in and he's like feeling her things and stuff.
Oh, no, I'm not laughing at it. It's wrong, but it's just like, that's the thing in this movie. It's just so, like, talking about this in a calm, but
I would not be surprised if they heavily, like, even if they more heavily alluded to, like, having a rape scene, just because, like, that's how dark this film is. Those are the topics that this film would tackle, and that would have made me incredibly uncomfortable. But in like, it would have also felt
It fits in this world,
It would
yeah.
feel appropriate for the character.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of glad they just left it ambiguous. And I think just really well done.
Because the answer to that isn't needed, right?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, because he's on his path at that point. And I just love that, like, talking about the score, when he leaves that apartment, and it's the shot of, like, it's from, like, the floor, and
Yeah.
it's following him, and it's just, the shadows are on him, his hair's down, he's wet, and the score's
He's
like,
so
boom,
intimidating.
boom, boom,
in
and
that
it's just, like,
moment.
and I just love that it feels like the score, that kind of boom, boom, boom sound is in that throughout the movie, but it feels like as we get close to the end, it's getting louder and it's pulsing more. It just feels like something going, and that's why it's also when you're talking about what happened with Zazie Beetz. That's why I love, again, for a comic book movie, there's not a comic book movie I can think of that leaves stuff to interpretation, stuff that we'll never know about. And that's, I love that, because we're going to talk about it, because for me, from my point of view, I think that he didn't do anything, because later on when he kills the clown guy that screwed him over, he lets the little person go. So for me, that put in the checkbox of, in my headcanon, that's what I love about this movie. And anybody can have a different route.
He still has his principles.
Yeah, and she didn't do anything to her. I think it was more of a coming to Jesus moment for him, because we don't know how sick his mother was, but the way they span it was, oh, she never had a relationship with Thomas Wayne. She just imagined that. And that's him being like, oh, I'm just like my mother. I just imagined this whole relationship with this lady. And I have to say, that moment when she's just saying, can I help you? Can I call your mom? The two things is, one, I didn't like, or I love that she didn't start going like, get out of here, you psycho, blah, blah. It felt realistic of, she's trying to talk him down. She has a daughter in the other room. They could easily just went like, what are you doing, you weirdo? I like that they didn't sacrifice her being like a complete bitch to him, which she could be. I'm not saying you can't be, but I liked that. And the other thing I liked is that shot when he turns around and does like the gun thing again. It was so scary, because they stay on it for like a good 10 seconds. You just don't know, is he going to jump out of his chair and get her? And then they cut away. But it's just like that shot, it was horrifying.
Yeah.
And I was just feel my skin crawl when it happened. And that's what I love. He leaves, you never know what's going to happen to that. You never know. And that's what I love, you know? You don't. Yeah. Well,
another thing I really like with the hallucinations is that you get I don't know if this is before or after this, but you have, I think it's after, when he's sort of rehearsing in his room before he goes on to the Murray show, and he kind of lays back and like he hears audience laughter, even though you know it's not there. And then it took me back to when he did the performance.
I took it that was happening on the TV, and it just lined up.
I took it as Briggs, that it was like in his mind that he was laughing. Yeah,
the rest of the TV drowns out, and then I think that's intentional to show that the audience laughter is in his own head.
I'll look out for that
I really liked how it made me. I thought back to when he gave that live performance at the club. The first time you watch it through, Zazie Beetz is there and like enjoying his jokes, and other than that, you don't see anyone else's reactions to anyone else's actual reaction. It's all dark around him. You just see the lights, and you hear the audience laughter, and you have to think: did he also hallucinate that audience laughter?
100%.
And like at the time, the movie makes you think that scene's going remarkable. He has this wonderful material, and he's actually really funny. He overcomes his nervousness that's causing him to have that laugh at the start. And it all works out for him, and he has this great comedy routine, and he's still on the way to becoming Joker, but there's that sort of like feel-good moment that they fit in, but then they take that feel-good moment away when you realize that probably wasn't real. He probably like completely botched the performance.
Oh, 100%.
And then when they're airing it on the show, you think, okay, what's the context of them making fun of these jokes if his perception of it was really funny. So I just love that they kind of that was something that they had in the film, that they intentionally made you realize that on top of him hallucinating the girl, there's so much more that he might have hallucinated. And I'd love to watch through just watch it through a second time to see if there's anything more in addition to that.
Did you ever see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I haven't.
Okay, then I won't say anything in spoilers, but there was one scene in there that I really enjoyed, and I think Dylan know it's with Leo, and he's doing some like acting stuff, and it just feels completely out of the movie. And that's the two things. It's not like that scene all, but it just remind me of that scene that Briggs is referring to, and then the scene at the very beginning of the movie with Maureen and Sam, that dreamlike sequence. I love that we just take like, and they make them important for the character, but they just take, it's not like a quick 30-second, oh, he had a dream sequence that he was on the Tonight Show, and it's like, it's a full 5 minutes of, you can just see in his world build up.
There's
like
a weird cut to it too.
Oh yeah, and when people stand up and they're all just clapping for no reason, and he's like, "Oh my goodness!" And he has this moment, and you can see that he looks up to this guy like a dad, because him and his mom watch him every night, and they're all like they're sleeping in their own bed. And that's what I love. They set Murray as this father figure, and just you're really special, Arthur. You know, it's just you can see, and that's why not everything in this film I can say we've all been there, but we've all had those moments where you are thinking about something you want to do, something you want to achieve, and you visualize and you dream about, and that's what he's doing, But the problem is he thinks it's just going to be an automatic reality where you, as the same person, are supposed to go, this is what I want to achieve. How do I get there? He just thinks the second I meet Murray, this is how it's going to be, until obviously he sees that videotape, and it crushes him too, because Murray, that's what I love. It could have just been a comedian making fun of him, but this is almost like his father, another father figure, is bringing him down, being like, look at this guy, like he's so pathetic, his jokes suck, and it's just like, that's without that scene, I feel like the Murray thing is like, it still works, but it's a lot more hollow than it's this surrogate father, and I loved all the dream or like anything that was in his mind. Very well done.
And that too, it just adds, like, there's a lot of moving parts that are all building towards that finale. I think that's what makes it so rewarding, right? Because when he's practicing, he's always putting the gun to his head, so you think that might be what the finale is. But as you mentioned, like, just the different times he's watching the show on TV, it all builds to that final moment, which is very, very intense.
Yeah, and I know we'll get there,
but
I love with the final moment too that they kind of set you two ways, because I didn't think he was gonna kill himself, but I liked what they were doing with it. But two, they set you up a bit like, okay, maybe he's gonna want to be famous and like kill himself on air, and he'll always be known, right?
Yeah.
There's that one, but then I also love that they set up the knock knock joke to be the time where he does the gun. So in the TV show, when he does the knock knock joke, he even like leans, but then he sits back and doesn't do it. So you start to like. That's why I love that they kind of set you up like, oh, this is exactly how it's gonna happen. And we kind of have an idea like something wrong's going on this talk show, but I love that they still played with the expectations of even he on the fly, like classic Joker, changes it, and like I don't know when we're going to talk about that talk show scene, but it's just like, we'll just talk about it now.
Let's talk about it now.
It is just like, that is a scene when we do Golden Geeks, that is a best scene nominee for me, because the second he is that, everything from like the whole thing won't be in there, but I loved them meeting backstage and them talking, and just he's so nice, Murray. You think, oh, maybe he is just a nice guy, but then right when he's back on stage, he's cutting him down again, like, and that's what a comedian does. But still, Arthur is not in that state of mind to take it.
Yeah.
But the shot when he's just sitting there smoking and he's just in the dark and he's just watching him be made fun of, you're just like, oh my god. And he walks up and he kisses that doctor, and just every single thing, whether
his confidence is like off the charts there.
When he comes out and he's dancing, that's where it just feels like this is not, it is the same guy, but it did not feel like Arthur anymore. It did feel like he physically transformed into something else. And just the way he carries himself, even when he's talking, he is like actually like sludge back like comfortably, and just like the looks he gives Murray, everything about that scene, all the things he says is just they knocked it out of the park. I loved it.
Phenomenal. It was from, I would say, like, as you said, in the film, and as I kind of mentioned in the pre-spoilers, you feel that it's a full journey. It's not just like you follow Arthur Fleck to a certain point and then it's like, bam, he's a Joker. But at the end there, like, I love his portrayal of the character of Arthur Fleck. But the final scenes of, even like when he killed the clown he worked with and let the midget go, it still felt like there's some Arthur Fleck there. It wasn't full on Joker yet, but but from the moment when I guess he was dancing down the steps,
that's a big moment
when he was like teasing the detectives chasing him when he went into the train, and then all the way up until the final scene, that was such a phenomenal portrayal of the Joker character. And like just that moment, the you can see the transformation in his confidence, the way he acts, the way he embraces his own humor, and he doesn't care what other people think. It's really it's phenomenal.
You reminded me of just those stairs. That's such a good set piece, because when you see it earlier in the movie, you see it, I think, a couple times, and it's always really dark, and you even just the camera angle, like most of the shot is just the stairs, right? Like there's got to be a couple hundred stairs there, and just him, like, I mean, he's already kind of hobbling just throughout this movie, but
Because he gets beat up multiple times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you see him just like climbing up the stairs, like it's just like an uphill battle, and that's like very symbolic for his life and trying to, you know, reach that better place or something.
Mhm.
But then at the end, it's just that full like possibly symbolic descent into like insanity as he's just joyfully hopping down these stairs.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, from even a simple point of view, when he looks at the stairs the very first time we see those stairs, it's just like, for me, I have to bike ride up a hill every day, and I fucking hate it. I'm just like, oh, here comes the hill, and it's just like, I'm going to be huffing and puffing if there's cars around. And that's how when he looks at, he just like, he's been beat up, and he just has this like look like, oh, right, I got to do these stairs. And that's where it's just like, when he does go down the stairs, something that he hates becomes like this joy ride. It becomes like an amusement park for him, and he's just having the time of his life. And then also, and I love that they do time it. That's around the time after he does kill that clown friend. That's when he's off his meds. So it's the same way as like, you can say descent into madness, but it's also a biological that shows that someone needs the healthcare, because maybe he's having these dark times. He has killed some people, but the thing is, now he's off his meds, and you see without that, this is maybe why it's happening, because he's not getting any help now. And you can say, from his point of view, he's saying, I feel great. I've never felt better. I actually am happy. But that's it, he's feeling happy in a very terrible, like dark, twisted way. But yeah, the stairs, it's just, I was surprised because they've used that a lot in posters and trailers. And I almost thought to the point of like, is this going to be impactful when I actually see it? Just because I knew it was coming. And then when it does come, especially the song they choose, it's so fucking risky too, because if you know anything about that song, the guy who sings that song is a convicted child pedophile. So the thing is, like, and I'm sure Todd Phillip knows that. For me, it's just like, you are using the song from a very terrible person, but it fits because, and this is why you got to separate the art from the artist, but it fits because this is a moment where this person is becoming a terrible person and a criminal. And that's where it's like, it's a ballsy, gross song to use, but it also just fits that moment so well. And it's just, that's where it's almost like, and people have talked about some of Todd Phillips' comments about this movie. It's like this meta, like you have to separate the art from the artist. And that's almost like the movie and this. And it's just like, and then I love that it's this, again, I talk about the non-spoilers, it's this heroic moment for him, but we're just seeing like, oh, he's completely gone. But I love the music slowly transitions into, they could have kept it that whole rock, like, bang your head song, but then it transitions back in that eerie score. And to me, the score tells you of like, for him, this is a triumphant moment, but it's not really. Like, they could have had that music, and if it's rock and roll music the whole time, you think, oh, this is just great, and you're having a good time. But to me, the score is telling you, no, this isn't right. You know, he's completely gone, and he's mad, and this is why the score is so ominous, because what's going to happen next is not good for anybody involved. You know, and it just was very well done.
I didn't know that detail of the guy who wrote it, but I think even without that, it is still very effective at just, once again, like this contrast, right, of just such a like the darkest moment of this movie, really, but yet it's like the most like upbeat or
for him,
happiest song, and I think it just aligns perfectly with the development that he has taken to reach that very moment.
Definitely.
And then, I guess as far as back to the talk show, there's a few things I want to mention. Is one, I love that like Murray's really nice to him, but then also he is like really nice, and he's just like they're both kind of like conning each other. It's great, but he's just like, I loved you, and I love the doctor, you know. But when he goes up, he kisses her, and that conversation, that's the thing I like too. We'll get to the end of the movie, but they do have that moment where De Niro is telling him, I love that he admits to the murders. And they have De Niro be the same person. Like, it doesn't matter what happened. Like, you can't do these things. You need to get help and blah, blah, blah. And eventually he gets a bit more aggressive. But the thing is, he never gets to the point where, what I was worried, same thing with Sassy Beats' character. He's not just like, you're a psychopath. You know, you are a clown. You know, like, he literally, Mark Maron, who I love, tries to cut the interview off. And he's like, no, like, let's just try to, I feel like Murray is trying to use this moment of, it's probably to get good ratings, but also just to show, like, there's obviously a big moment. People are watching the show. Let's try and get down to, it's like if people go and interview a serial killer, like, let's get down to why he did this, what was the purpose, and then eventually you can just see Arthur's not having any of it, and it gets heated between both of them. But I think the movie at that point, and that's where some people might say, oh, the ending, eventually he has like these people just bowing to him. But in that moment, to me, is showing that they are trying to show you that, again, this is wrong. This is not the route you want to go down. And De Niro, the father figure, is like the last ditch effort to be like, you can't do this, you know, but it does. He's too far gone at that point. But I love the movie it doesn't just show that, oh yeah, he's the Joker and he's having a great time killing, you know, there's consequences and it's not the right thing to do. They give you that perspective, you know, so.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else on the talk show, but I want to talk more about Gotham in general.
I'd like to talk about the talk show as well quickly.
Take it away, my friend.
And it kind of goes back to the Zazie Beetz one as well, is that it does a really good job of making you each character feel like they have something at stake in just their own personal lives whenever they interact with the Joker. With Zazie Beetz, as we were talking about before, and that she's not just freaking out and escalating the situation. She reacts in a fairly sane way, in that she just wants him to leave. She doesn't care if she takes anything from the building. She just wants her daughter to be safe and to make sure he leaves, and she tries to de-escalate the situation. And you see, like, with Murray as well, like he has a show to run, and as I was thinking that the classic saying, the show must go on, and you see, like, he is trying to make sure that in a way as well, trying to de-escalate the situation. It's like, okay, this man is a killer. Like, if we just start calling him out and freaking out, he could, if we try and cut off the air, he might freak out and kill someone. Let's try and, like, salvage this situation. And sure, there's probably people offset calling the cops at this point, but he's just trying to keep everything calm and going.
And talk off the ledge, kind of.
Yeah, and you see, like, I love the expression that the doctor had. You could see she was just
it's going. Yeah,
it was like she like very tiny part on her, but like just her expression she held and the way she was reacting to the conversation going on right beside her. It was just phenomenal job, I would say, to the director, just like facilitating that and making it feel real. And it did. And as I mentioned earlier, in that this doesn't feel like a comic book film, in that, like, the world just feels so alive and real, and not in the way that you would expect from a comic book film, in that there's always, like, conflict. People are confrontational and purposely escalating things, where this felt like real people with real lives at stake outside of their job, outside of the mission. They're just trying to get by, and this is what it felt like.
Well, yeah, because this, if you look at it, like, in the comic book sense terms, this is the final battle of the movie, right? It's him getting his talk show, and him v. Murray and v. the people. And I said already, but I just gotta say again, I think Joaquin is phenomenal in the whole movie, but in this scene in particular, I just love, because he's just, I said, he does such a good job of balancing Arthur, but then Joker, and just the way he responds to Murray, and the way he's sitting in the movie, the way he's moving, just some of those looks he gave Murray were just ice cold scary. And because you just, as us the viewers, we know he has some bad plan, and you just don't know at any moment that it's going to strike. And it's quite a line that he says. I think it's probably going to be a controversial line, but I think some people would say it's right, when he's just like, what do you get when you have a mental health person that gets rejected and thrown in society, and then when he just says you get what you fucking deserve, and he shoots him. I understand that's definitely that's definitely going to be a controversial line, but, like, I think that's we're following the guise of this character, right? And even that's what I love in this real world setting, just the way how loud the gun actually is. You know, like, we lose it all the time in Star Wars and Marvel and other DC films, where it's just like goons, it's action all the time, but just he shoots them twice, but they're so loud and they echo. And just when he walks with the camera and he grabs it, and that's just like such a Joker moment. And I was worried that the movie was going to end when they panned out on all those TV screens.
I did like that shot.
Yeah, I loved it, but I'm like, we still need, like, a little more. But I was worried we're going to cut to black right there. So I like that we still got kind of like an epilogue to it, in my opinion. Like, the ending is him taking out Murray, but that scene is I can't wait to watch that again, and just all the little things Joaquin did. So
it's a great, even just like the him practicing earlier for his introduction and kind of copying off of some actor that maybe he had some connection to. I'm not sure, but that was good. So to talk about Gotham a little bit more,
the Super Rats.
The Super Rats. Yeah, no, the Super Rats reminded me of Dishonored, actually, and how the more corruption that comes in that world, the more rats there is. Great video game. But yeah, also as Briggs mentioned, the garbage, just how dark it is, how shitty the people are, those kids just beating up on him. And the fact that you don't see, like, a single park, right? You don't see, like, any green space or like there's no essence of life here. And then even kind of halfway through the movie, just most of the characters end up just becoming these characters in masks, right? And it kind of helps create that disconnect between the people and the ones that are controlling all of this. And I think it adds so much because, you know, you look at, like, these, what are the goons, if you will, like, relative to the genre? What do the goons in this movie do? Well, really, they don't do much. They break Joker out of the cop car at the end, but
save him from the subway, kind of, like, indirectly.
But they don't really do a whole lot, but at least there's so much development of, like, how these people got to the point they are, and even though none of them have a name or have a story, that's kind of the point, right? And the point is that they just become, like, these faceless people to the government, and they're just trying to control them like sheep or something.
But
but
they've been pushed to the brink.
yeah, exactly. They've been pushed so far that they are all rebelling in incredibly violent ways, leading into people getting killed, things just getting lit on fire.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then them, honoring this guy who's killing people live on TV. People
Yeah.
who, I mean, people like this Murray guy. He didn't seem like a corrupt guy who is creating these problems, yet they still kind of praise him for that. So.
Well, yeah, it's almost like they take it as like maybe Murray's not the worst, but it's if this guy says he deserves to die, then
Right.
clearly the Joker knows, and that's why I love that this is. It's such a good thing because Joker in most media always has goons in the Arkham games, but they're just always like criminals with masks and stuff like that, and that's fun. That's not like to bring one thing down to raise the other. But that's what I love. They fleshed out. They made the Joker like a Charles Manson like figure, where this is literally like a cult where people are following him, and that's where I was really worried when that ambulance hit the cop car that it was just by mistake. I'm like, please, whoever walks
Yeah.
out, have that mask, because I was like, don't make this like it just happened. But I loved like, no, now it's like, and I don't. We'll talk about this in later, but they set up this world where you could believe they would maybe break this guy
Yeah.
out of prison. They would try to help him
Well,
out.
it's
You'd believe
interesting.
there could be
Yeah.
a Harley Quinn like person that would just
Mhm.
love this guy, and like he had that Charles Manson call like status, and I love that they did that.
It's so much more interesting when every goon you can attribute motivations to them instead of the bad guy paid them this money
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now
yeah.
they're throwing their weight
Exactly.
around.
Yeah.
That's so much more interesting. And so there's like there is world building for the sake of just creating a world, but then it actually does have some consequences, and it's just it's something to really be proud of, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you have anything to say, Briggs, but the only thing I want to say when you're talking about when we don't see much nice things, I love that even when we get Wayne Manor, which we'll talk about later, we don't see like this big shot of Wayne Manor. It's behind a gate and it's really
Right.
far away, and it's almost just like,
unattainable,
yeah, you can't get this. You can't even. They don't open the gate. Even just that tussle he has with Alfred and Bruce. It's just like you are physically, like he is physically, but you're physically, you're mentally, you're emotionally, you are locked out of this, and you are not allowed. Even if if we don't know, we'll talk about that after. But even if you are this guy's son, that's not even good enough because you're a poor like piece of shit that lives down in the slums of Gotham, and we don't even want anything to do.
That's
with
also
you.
reinforced with the theater scene, which is like really the only nice place where you just have to. You just imagine these
You
are
have to
all
sneak in.
these are all like the rich people who don't have to worry about the issues, and
There's a
yet right
riot
outside that
outside.
building,
Yeah.
there's all these people who are attacking cops and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And they're
it's-
watching a show.
Yeah, they're just watching a movie, laughing. That's the only characters that laugh in a genuine way in this movie. So pretty intense stuff. A lot of depth given to the town, or not the town, the city, and the people there.
And even
Love it.
and even we joked about, but even I love that at the beginning it was the super rats because it even set up of like that's where I love like the little comic booky stuff. Like this is as ground as could be, but even in like in Batman comics, there's a giant crocodile. I don't think there's that in this movie, but just
Killer
the fact
Croc
that, but
somehow?
even the fact that like like the myths like there's super rats, like it's like has like nice little just like homages to comic book. Like it's just like the right amount where it wasn't too little and it wasn't too much. It was just, and we'll talk about the Wayne stuff after, but I felt like just the super rats was just like a nice way to be like, this is like we were talking about like a Blade Runner or something. Like it's still like a fantastical world, but it's in a world we know and maybe not love, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of the Thomas Wayne stuff,
Yeah.
Thomas Wayne.
really, really interesting take. It took me by surprise. As they kept like reintroducing Wayne related things, and then they end up introducing Bruce Wayne as well. As I was watching it, I found those parts took me out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of it in the moment, I would say, but in hindsight, I think it does help for the character motivation. I don't mind the Thomas Wayne related things. I think the Bruce Wayne scenes, and I would say specifically being just the scene with him outside the gate, it felt like it wasn't essential to the Joker's development. I think he's already down the path he was going before he goes to Wayne Manor and talks to Bruce Wayne and so on and so forth. It felt like they were kind of just trying to shoehorn in that, like, hey, this is Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Yeah,
it's the Joker and the Batman.
Yeah.
And sort of, it felt like they were forcing it, but in hindsight, it's definitely, it doesn't feel bad that it's in the film, and it doesn't take away from the film. But I was uncertain about it initially, and I want to know what you guys.
Yeah, I think it's something that if you told me before the movie that
This scene took
that's
place.
how
that
like
Batman's in it.
yeah, that's how Batman or Bruce Wayne is gonna be in the movie, and it's just
Yep.
very minimal, and it almost like on paper does feel like it is shoehorned in. But I was surprised that it didn't bother me whatsoever, and I liked it because I don't think it was over the top, and I think the Thomas Wayne stuff was actually very purposeful to the story, right? Because that's what is kind of the inkling to the distrust he has with his mother,
Yeah.
leading him to that scene of going to the asylum or the hospital, I guess, to get the files, and then leads to him killing her. So I think all that stuff worked, and then once again, even just at that theater when he gets punched in the face by Thomas, once again, kind of, I mean, yes, he was going pretty ham, but still just once again, the brutality of Gotham, just the rich oppressing the poor, you know, metaphorically, even just punched him in the face. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm maybe neutral on the Bruce Wayne stuff because I can't explain why I like it. I think it just doesn't bother me, and it's something that on paper maybe you should have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got 3 things for it. One is like my pure bias, and I think that's why I like it, just because it's like that Batman Joker thing. And I think for me, it's just because it's seeing the Joker as a grown man and Batman as a kid. And I also was just on paper, same thing, almost like what Dylan was saying. On paper, if you told me, okay, there's a potential chance that Batman and Joker are going to be brothers, and like, oh, that's just such a fucking trope, you know? Like, we've seen that so many times, like, you're my brother. Like, all right. But the way, and one, I like that they've left it up. We don't know.
Picture in Diamondback.
Well, exactly, right? We've seen that in so many comic things, but the one I love that we don't know for sure if that's his brother. And the other reason why I do like it, taking my bias out of it, is the 2 things of, I like when he does the smile face, because one, obviously, is disturbing, but I feel like it's this moment where Arthur, he thinks he's related to this guy and this kid, and he's trying to make some sort of connection with him with the magic. He's trying to, because anytime he's around kids in the movie, he's very nice and he's always trying to make them happy. So he's trying to do that, this is what I love. Like, it's this classic Batman. Bruce doesn't smile at all. So it's just like that classic setup, like, oh, they're going to be opposed. But I also take when he does the smile, he's just almost like looking for himself in Bruce Wayne, because if he thinks this is my kid brother, when he does it at the beginning of the movie, he sees the mirror. That's why I took it like literal. Like, he's literally trying to say, like, is this me? Like, are we each other? And then the other thing is, I just took it as it was another opportunity where he could have been saved, where Alfred clearly, if we go with the route B of, let's say they did cover this up and that is his kid, Alfred to me like would clearly know, oh, we covered this up and this guy is his kid. This is a moment where Thomas Wayne could bring him in and say, maybe if he had a loving father who was there for him and whatever, this is a moment where he could have been saved. But his whole, like, Alfred is not family, but he's still family. The family estate just treats him like garbage. Like we talked about earlier, when he goes and sees Wayne, he gets punched, and the guy's just like, oh, do you want an autograph? Your mom's crazy. Like, I take it as like, it's just another brick of, this could have been the point of the story. This could have been option C, where he goes in this mansion and they get him the help he deserves because they have money and he's fine. And he has
for his mother's well-being.
He has a brother. He has a new father, and that's where I think it works in the screenplay for me. Where I think there's at times it could not work, but that in the downfall is like, oh, this was another chance, and nope, because they just didn't care about him.
Yeah.
You know,
I like what you're saying.
That's a really
Go
good
ahead.
point. In that there are opportunities for redemption throughout the story. I really like that analysis, and I also really like the just the cinematography of like that you mentioned earlier with Wayne Manor being so far away and so unattainable. Definitely makes me look at that differently, and so I think it'll be a lot more meaningful on the second watch through for me. And even just looking back on it now, there's a lot more to those scenes than I initially saw. So yeah, all good points. I agree with you.
I liked what you said as well about even just like putting the smiley face on him, right? Because if that is his brother, maybe it's something like he says in this movie, I've never been happy, and that's something he just wants for his brother, or even just this kid. He just wants this kid to be happy and have a better life than he could.
Well, yeah,
or a better childhood.
Even you look like what I was just saying, like Bruce doesn't smile in that scene, and like you said, he hasn't been happy. So it is this sense of, it is a brother kinship of maybe he is my brother, because he's not happy either. I think that's just them being cheeky, like, oh, he's Bruce Wayne, he's already a dark kid who like doesn't put, but like I think you can. That's what I love about this movie. You can just take it different ways. It could be for just the fun, like this is a comic book Easter egg, or it is development, or it is this and it is this. This is a movie that almost reminds me too, like Inception, where weeks from now we're gonna get articles of like the 3, the hidden meanings behind this scene. Like, what did this really mean?
21 things you missed in the Joker.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what, like, it's a trope in internet world, but I do love that in short movies that deserve it. Like when I think sometimes like, with Endgame, when we still talk 6 months later about like how the time travel worked, there comes a certain point where you're like, we just got to say it's a fucking sci-fi space movie. But with this, when it's like, I can see multiple conversations like, does that, because I've heard other people say the Bruce stuff and even the killings of the Wayne, that didn't need to be in there. That was just like a shoehorn thing. So like, you're not alone that I've heard that, but for me, I guess it just worked because even when the Waynes get killed, that's what threw me for a loop. I literally thought Arthur was going to be the one to kill them because right when they're at a theater, they're going into an alley. We all know what's going to happen to the Waynes here. But I thought, oh, Arthur's going to physically kill Wayne. And like, that's what I love. He does kill them, but just his like effect on Gotham killed them. You know?
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Like, whether or not he wants, like, we don't know if he killed Zazie Beetz and the daughter. So we don't know if child violence is too far for him. But even then, like, yes, there is that scene after he has that interaction with Bruce where maybe he doesn't care anymore if that kid is happy, but still the ultimate thing that's going to take away his happiness forever, for the rest or for many, many years is, due to what he has created in this world. Yeah. And that's leading to his parents getting killed, which, I mean, it's a classic Batman origin story scene, but it didn't bother me, and I really feel like it should have.
I felt the same way too, just because it's just we've seen it so many times and it's been memed about. I did notice they never once said the mom's name Martha in that, so I wonder if they ever cut that out. Yeah, they never. They always said Thomas and his wife. They never said that. But
so it is also probably important to say that there really wasn't a whole lot of screen time. I mean, especially for Bruce, but even Thomas. Really, like he's mentioned a couple more times, but doesn't even really have that much screen time in general. So it's not like them being in the movie is taking away from anything, and in fact it kind of just builds to the world because you're seeing that these goons are killing people in the streets.
Well, and he kind of transpires because he calls these people clowns, right? People that would be cowards, people that act against the rich, they're clowns. So it's like it's like that's why I love like the interweaving of the Batman origin of like the Waynes kind of create this Joker, but then the Joker creates, and it's just like symbiotic relationship in this movie, and it's just I said this in a tweet today. I'm just so selfish already. The second that movie ends and you have an image of Bruce Wayne standing over his dead parents, and so like I don't even need a Joker 2. I don't even need that. I would just love to see and we were talking about before the cast, but I would love to see a movie just called Wayne and just see Bruce Wayne growing up. And the same way that the Joker was the Joker for the last 25 minutes of this movie, if we got a movie like that where this kid, we see him 10 years later, you don't even need walking. You can just see the clips of that. He was on TV. You can see clips of him. You can see
newspaper headlines.
Yeah, and if the last 25 minutes is the first time he puts on that bat costume, I would just love, and who knows what happens, but I would just I want to see because we're talking about Gotham, I just want to see more of this world, you know, and even if it's another character, like if there was a Riddler or the podcaster, you know, like let's see that character. Like this world to me is just already so rich what they set up. I would just like to see anything in this world, you know. It's just they just did such a good job, and I really hope I'm really hoping that money talks and money's the root of all evil. But I'm in the case of so pulling for it where Warner Bros. Just goes like, well, you know, do you guys want to maybe do something else in there? Because Phillips even said that. He said he didn't know if he directed, but he said the same thing. He'd be interested to see what would it be like for Bruce Wayne to grow up in this world. Because not only your parents died, the whole time it is just like, and even then, walking could be in another movie and be in it for 5 minutes. Like the whole movie could be building to the confrontation of, I'm going to kill this guy, and maybe he doesn't. Like, I don't know, but it's just, that's why I love that they did such a good job of making this world. Like, you want to see more, and like, you know, gross way, but you're interested like what's next, like what could happen, because the movie ends very bleakly with riots and they have this godlike figure in the Joker, and it's just where the possibilities would be endless with the Harley and everything. But that's just me, quick fanboy.
I know, and I don't think I'm on that train because I think this movie is very, very special, and it almost feels more special because it is a one-off. You know, you look at these other comic book movies like an Endgame, Infinity War, even Avengers, even something like Logan. Like, these movies are great, but they're also great because they had so much groundwork put into those characters, the people acting in that world, and so it all like culminates to something. But I think the fact that Joker was so great just in itself with no other connections is something that's very, very special. And yes, even though it does have a couple things that are tied to that character's origins, you know, based on comic books or some Bruce Wayne stuff, it still feels like a very special thing. And I feel like if they were to dip back into this world, I feel like there's
a big risk of tarnishing.
Well, I feel like you need Batman at this point. Like, I don't know if you... Well, I don't, yes, you maybe could do another just Joker movie, and I mean, yes, it could work. Obviously, this movie is that good, but I almost feel like if you really want some progression, you need Batman, and there's a lot of implications with that. One is he'd be older, and you would have to simulate like 20, 30 years of of Gotham, and I wonder what the city would be like. I wonder if they would really take the care it needs to really make that feel like it actually has been however long in that world. And as you're saying, maybe they go for a younger Bruce, or maybe they do like a time lapse thing. But I'm just like totally content. If this is one off, we never get anything else, I am A-okay with that. Just to show that you like not every comic book movie needs to spin off into a trilogy. You spin off into 20 series
You're
of movies.
right. You're 100% right.
Have fucking time travel so you can keep experiencing that. Talking to you, X-Men. Like, you can just do one great movie, focus on one character, and move on
similar
with your
to
life.
just like a single comic book run in that it's like you can have a run of 5 comics with this one story, and then that's it. You don't need to touch on the topic anymore.
I think it just shows like, wow, they were really able to build up Gotham so well as a city, possibly better than any other comic book movie with just one movie.
And I think that's the problem. And shout out to Greg who might be listening. I guess that's the saltiness of me that the DCU happened, and that's where it's just like we try to do this universe, and for me it didn't quite work out. So it's like when you get this nice universe, and you're just like, oh, it's so. And you guys are 100% right. I honestly think if I have to gun ahead, it should stay a one-off. It worked that way, but it's just when you look at this treat, and it just looks. It's like the Wayne Manor.
The thing is, you can't describe this as a universe yet, right? No. Like this movie is entirely focused, like 90% focused on just one character, and then the world is built very much alongside that, like with synergy there. That it's not like when you introduce a Batman, you're already splitting that. I mean, screen time doesn't have to be a cut and dry 50-50 thing, but you're already diluting it a bit in other characters. So, well,
that's where my pitch
and then, like if there's a big epic battle between Joker and Batman, I know those are more like battles between brains than they are big explosive set pieces or something, but I still feel like that would kind of take away from what made this kind of a realistic thing. And even something like the moment when Joker, I mean, he gets pulled out of the car, he's like very lifeless, but he stands up on the car and eventually gets to the point where he pulls the blood back over his cheeks. Like that could be very, very cheesy, and that is something that is very cheesy in other comic movies, but it doesn't come across that way in this movie at all.
And see, that's the thing when you're talking about that, I wouldn't want like the Batman breaks out the Batmobile and he's jumping rooftop to rooftop. I would want literally even less down to even what like the first season of like Daredevil was, even like less fighting, just this guy that's in streets, he has a bandana. Like I would like, even if they did a Batman costume and there's not even horns on it, it's just like that's what I'd like, is just to see just a very grounded what this world will be, and not in a way of like, oh, Wonder Woman's going to come, and just like what would this continue going on? You know, it's just, and I think, like I said, you guys are right, but it's just, I guess I'm being selfish just because I just saw this great comic movie. I'm just like, man, we can do this with comic movies. So my head spins with all these properties. Like, I want to see like what would be a really realistic version of this and this and this, but you got to be happy with what you get.
What are the odds that we get another movie, and what if it's like, what if they aren't as good, or what if they take away from that? What if Gotham doesn't feel as complete? Well, now that's all tied to this, right? And you can always cut out Anchorman 2, but it still exists.
100%. No, I just want to talk about, because it was fun, like, to bring up, and especially because there's those rumors like the past and one takes place in the 90s. So people,
they have my fucking attention more than any other DC thing.
Yeah, so people have done like this.
Theater.
People have done like the spider web. Like, well, Pattinson's movies are in the 90s. Joaquin would be 50 and he could play 20, so we could do this and that. So you're right.
Well, that's the thing. When I see people today, you know, sometimes some of this from you, Travis, because you've been all over Twitter today, which totally justifiable. But like, people are like already shipping the Pattison and Joaquin. It's like, you haven't seen that Batman yet. Chill out.
I did
relax.
That. I did that. But I think that just shows that in like the long run, that shows that it's a movie that the people that like it really affected. And I think it is a thing that I think people, if they dislike this movie, could really dislike it. But I think that just shows that if there is never another one, it just shows the power that this movie did have, because it already has people just talking about it and like fantasy booking stuff. And that's totally me, but I am just happy. Even if we don't get any more, I'm happy we just got this, because it's crazy that this exists. It's I said this earlier today. It's like Endgame for a different reason. When I see that last battle, I'm like, this is a thing that exists. When I see the last half an hour of this movie, I'm like, this is like a real Joker movie. Like I said, the final battle is a talk show, and it's so just and even simple but effective.
Even just like living up to the hype, which has been like pretty fucking high the last couple months. And I was even a bit annoyed because Travis and Taylor have been dropping fucking Joker posters in our group chat every day, which are just different angles of his face, essentially.
Big
I'm like, guys, I've had enough of this.
Big shots. Yeah, the posters are great.
Posters so good.
They had to make a poster for every Riot member, that's why. But I wanted to talk about, unless we had anything else on Gotham or the potential Batman-ness, or if you
I want to say that I am for a Wayne film. I like that pitch.
Just Wayne.
And I think
What's his
I
real
don't
name?
think you need the Joker or Walken in that film.
No.
I was
True.
just kind of brainstorming in my head, like the start of Batman Begins, in that like you see Bruce kind of like he almost goes and kills the guy
Joe
who's
Chill,
convicted as killing his parents. And I like, with how masterfully this film was done, just a film focusing similarly on simply the perspective of Wayne. You still have, I think Gotham City is an essential character with how well it was done in
You kind of
this
have to,
film.
right? Yeah,
But
'cause that's the only
how-
reason I'd want to see. I wouldn't want to just see him
Yeah.
like, oh, now he's with ninjas and I don't want to see
Yeah.
that. I literally
And-
want to see him
and
in Gotham.
It's very much like I think with DC and Batman specifically, Gotham is it is very essential to have Gotham as a character and to bring it alive, because it's why Batman does what he does, because he believes in Gotham as a whole.
Mhm.
He believes in the city that it can be better.
And he'll see all these clips of his dad,
Mhm.
like even if it's a fake version of his
Yeah.
dad talking, like, look at my dad.
And
He was,
it could be I'm not sure canonically how old he is when that trial goes through or whatnot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it could be just like a young Bruce Wayne. Maybe he's late teens, early 20s, and it's just following him and the struggle he's trying to deal with as he's coming to realize that maybe like he growing up, like he might not have realized just how crappy things were around him.
Mhm.
He had a very sheltered upbringing until his parents died, and then even after that, like Alfred could have easily sheltered him. But just sort of realizing that, like, the rich people aren't great and the poor people aren't great either, and
And now you have this faction of people that hate the Waynes too.
Yeah.
They killed your parents in the
Mhm.
alleyway.
like
and
these are the people you're fighting to save Gotham
Yeah.
for. These are the people you're fighting for, and they're not that great. But anyways, basically his descent into just like dealing with his parents' death and the aftermath of what the Joker's done to him,
Mhm.
and that descent into vigilantism and eventually becoming the Batman at the end of the film.
yeah.
I think, and it's just him trying to like, it could literally just be like a detective film of him trying to solve his parents' murder himself, and he comes across these lines of like, oh, do I murder this person because I might be able to justify it, but will I be able to live with that decision? Is this
Yeah.
who I want to be as a vigilante? And then eventually he dons the cape and yeah, that sort of thing. Basically the opposite of
Yeah.
the Joker
Starts
film.
low, gets high. Where Joker, like, well,
I
his
mean,
high point
honestly,
was
it
not
could
great.
still start high and get
Yeah.
low. Like
Yeah,
it could be a
true.
dark point in his life where it's like he could turn away from vigilantism, leave Gotham with his large sum of inheritance,
Yeah.
and just like he has the opportunity to just put that life behind him. But he takes the dark path for him. It might be the righteous path, but he takes the dark path and he decides to confront and try and change Gotham for the better.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I think Dylan's definitely right.
I think Dylan makes a lot of good points.
He
though,
does.
And I think I do think that it would be nice to not have anything tie in
Mhm.
directly with like this film, so that in that it's like, there's like they have flashbacks to like other things the Joker has done or something. That'd be kind of dumb, and I wouldn't like that. But
Yeah, chapter 2
Yeah.
style. Oh,
I mean,
and he was
we're just
doing
talking
this?
about how unique this movie is, and as soon as you spin out a cinematic universe around it, then it's gonna make it
Yeah.
less unique.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I don't think it needs a cinematic universe, but
Yeah.
just like
A
to
follow.
follow
Yeah.
this, basically make it like a trilogy, like the Dark Knight Rises
Yeah,
trilogy,
yeah.
and that it like I wouldn't call the Dark Knight Rises a cinematic universe, but the movie's it's still a trilogy, I guess. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of what I would root for if they did anything with this, but I would also be like, just this film as it is, it's like, that's great, I'm happy for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let us know in the comments what you think, because that's gonna be debated for a little while.
Yeah.
So, what I want, because we talked about his dad, I want to talk about his mom for a little bit, because she's kind of tied in there.
Right.
I loved all the stuff they did there. I had a feeling that he was gonna be. I thought Thomas was gonna be a father plotline, just because when she's like, I'm writing him all the time, like, okay, there's something. And she's
Yeah.
like, I haven't worked for him in 30 years, and it's like, well, this guy's, he's in that 30 age
Yeah.
range. So I'm like, okay, sounds fish here. So I was brief for it, but I liked that how they handled that, and I loved the same thing the rest of this film, slowly peeling back that she's lied to him a lot, that she put him in a very terrible situation. And I love that like almost dream sequence again when he's reading the file and he imagines himself in the room with his young mom and the psychiatrist, and he's just watching happen. And then I thought 100% in this movie the mother would die. I did not think he was going to be the one to kill her, and that was a very, very dark scene. That was
it went on longer than I was expecting to, which I think
Yeah.
is the point, right? Just to make you even more uncomfortable.
And it really, I like how it ties in with the ambiguity of the film a lot, in that to him at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if, say for example, like there could be a lot of back and forth on like if maybe Thomas Wayne is actually
the
his
photograph.
father, and he actually wrote on that photograph, and he couldn't have his reputation tarnished, so he forged the documents and forced his and basically
Big
made
cover-up.
it all up and did a big cover up. Or maybe his mom was actually just a shitty person and gave him a shitty childhood.
Well, that's
and
what I
there
like
could
about
be a lot of things wrong with that. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to the Joker.
No.
He kills her anyways. He doesn't care. He doesn't know which is real or not. But
because either way, she's wronged him she put him in a bad situation. And that's what I love too with her, but also with Thomas. It sets him up at the end. You can look at it as he was a piece of shit guy that did all this cover stuff, or he just like had this crazy employee that fell in love with him, and he's just like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't want, like,
he could have handled that in so many different ways as well.
Yeah.
He didn't have to make this huge cover up over it, and he could be like, oh wow, my employees. He talks about earlier in the film, like when you work for Wayne
They're
Enterprises,
family.
like you're like family. Like he sees his employee's child get like absolutely just like abused. So he could step in any number of ways with his resources and solve that situation right there. And time again, he chooses not to take that path of redemption.
Yeah, because she's, I imagine, been writing him for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Many moons.
Mhm.
Yeah, many letters.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the mother. Good, well acted. I liked their relationship, fun back and forth. It was just, I liked that. All the little setups there, the dancing together. It was some weird stuff going on, but it was good.
It's interesting. Even, I mean, obviously we see some stuff of some child abuse there, but even older, like she's kind of mocks him for going on a date, and she says he's not funny, stuff like that. So he's taking care of her at this point, even giving her a bath, which is, maybe a little strange at that age, but she's still just kind of being a piece of shit.
Yep.
And I feel like even in that dream sequence, right, from his perspective, he's still giving her like the benefit of the doubt, or maybe she was different back then. Who knows? But that's interesting. Like I feel like there is a dynamic there where you don't really know. She comes off really innocent, or maybe it is just strictly her mental illness that's preventing her from seeing what's wrong in that situation in that flashback. But either way, it's interesting to see, like, who knows what the actual solution is there, but it's cool once again to see his kind of distorted view, or maybe it's not a distorted view. And that's what's fun about the unreliable narrator in that sense.
We'll never know.
You'll never know.
Until BuzzFeed tells us or something.
Top
21
25 reasons
reasons
why
yeah.
she was a bad mother.
yeah. There's a lot. Anywhere where you guys are wanting to jump to next specifically that we haven't touched upon? We talk about Gotham, talk about Thomas, talk about Joaquin, the talk show.
One thing I wanted to I just had it in my mind and we haven't had a chance to jump on it. But just like the way you mentioned that they he views Murray as a bit of a father figure at the start of the film. That's kind of like what he craves. He wants, like, he sees him as a father figure. And then as the film goes on, whether Thomas Wayne is his father or not, just his perception of who his father is it just sinks lower and lower and lower. And then at the end of the day, like, as you see, he has principles on who he feels like he needs to kill, and like the reason he does things, and that sort of leads into why he kills Robert Murray. It is Robert Murray, right? I've been saying it the whole time.
It's Murray, but I don't know if it's Robert Murray.
Oh yeah. Anyways,
Robert.
Murray.
His name's Robert De Niro, and then I'll look.
That
up
might be why I'm saying it. Anyways,
Robert Murray.
Murray. That's kind of leads into why he kills him, in that, like, he views him as his father figure, and then he goes the whole film, like, his perception of who his father figure is just gets lower and lower and lower. And then who does he take that anger out on? The person who he initially idolized as his father, being Murray in the show. And I don't know.
He kind of
Nice.
gets the back end of what Thomas Wayne maybe set up, unfortunately.
Yeah, and
Poor Thomas Wayne.
yeah,
One other
Murray Franklin is
Murray
the full
Franklin.
name.
Murray
There you go.
Franklin.
Murray Frankie. One other scene I wanted to shout out is I guess the first time he kills someone in the train, the scene on the
Yeah.
subway, it's just shot so beautifully. Like you get the perspective, like the shot from kind of his point of view, kind of watching the situation as they're kind of picking on this girl or maybe having some untimely advances before she leaves. And it kind of has that classic horror thing of like the lights are kind of going in and out, and every time the guy's like swinging a little bit closer, but it's just so well done. It once again it like fits perfectly into that gross green and dark vibe of what Gotham is, and then even just the brutality, how it kind of escalates in that scene from the first guy where he just like shoots him quickly, and then by the time it's the last guy on the stairs, he just like puts the rest of his clip in there and then even keeps trying to shoot. Someone's going to get really mad at me for calling it a clip because I don't think it's called a clip, but putting the rest of his bullets...
It is in Canada. Wink, wink.
Yeah, we don't know any of that.
Yeah.
Putting the rest of his bullets into him and then, taking a bit to really understand what's going on, realize it, and then just fucking books it out of there.
Yeah, well, two things. One, we don't want to clip this because we have gun control. Wink, wink. And then second is that's when it really clicked in. The whole movie felt different for me, but when he kills those people, when it clicked to me that I'm watching something different is that last guy, the way he's like limping and the way Joaquin's just falling when he has his arm pointed out and it just looks like he hasn't really shot a gun, but he's willing to, but just the way he's falling him and he just looks like he's hunting not an animal, but just to stay alive. But then there's just that kind of, because that's the very first time we get the evolution of him turning. That bathroom scene's great when he gets in there and he's just like, he's dancing as he would with the clown. He's just trying to almost like, I feel like, just compress and figure out what's going on. Then when he sees himself in the mirror, it's that first time of like, is this what I am? But that scene to me was just, it was really real though. The guy just got shot in the ass and he's limping. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't over the top. It's just like, it's a gunshot.
And once again, it's like, okay, well, think about how kind of, it's not that long of a scene, but still during that whole time, like no one comes to check on them. You don't hear any sirens or anything. So it's like, once again, it just builds up Gotham as kind of a shitty place. What would have happened to that girl if he wasn't there and he didn't start having that coughing fit? Kind of a creepy thought because it probably wouldn't have been something good. So
no, it's Gotham. Yeah.
Very effective scene.
Also love the shot of both of them. They're in the different cars. And he's like looking out the door, like seeing if the guy will leave the train or not.
Yeah.
It's like if he stays on the train, then I just keep chasing him on the train. If he gets out, then I follow him and shoot him.
Select.
And they're both just like waiting to see which one goes, and I was just like wonderfully shot.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other, as far as talking about shots, I forgot to put in my notes. When he's in the back of that cop car and they're going by, it's like very like classic, like it's almost a shot to like The Dark Knight. But when it's just he's going by and we just see all the riots happening, I love when they just say like, "Oh, are you happy about this?" And he just puts his face up against the grate, and I can't remember. He's just like, "Yeah, I am," or something. But it's just. At that point, he becomes like Hannibal Lecter, like a horror movie villain. At that point, he is the Joker, but it's the scariest I think I'd ever seen the Joker. Because just when he comes up there, you're just always intimidated. And that was we didn't talk about earlier with the blood coming up, but that's whole scene when they lift him up and raise him up, and it's just like it was very well done. It's very just settling in of just like, man, this is just such a dark fucking movie. It's ending on this note. It's not even ending with it, like, and he ends up locked up, but that's not the end point. It's this. And even the end
the
point. The
Joker gets locked up so often. And
yeah. And another, as far as shots, like the fact that the two things, one, that ending scene with is that the same therapist or a new therapist?
New therapist.
Okay, because I thought so, because I was talking to someone today and they thought it was the same one. I didn't think so. But I love that scene of just, oh, what's so funny? And he just goes, oh, you wouldn't get it. Just a really well thought out line, but I love the shot when he leaves, and it's just you see those bloody footprints, because at first you just think he's leaving, but then when he steps off, you just see them and you follow him, and then he's dancing and they're chasing him, and it's just kind of that Joker thing where it just seems like he's going to do this forever. And then the other thing people have always now brought up is like, if you want to, I'm not gonna, but you can take it as the whole movie is kind of like a dream sequence, right? Because they set that up as he was in an institution and then they get back to an institution that looks very similar. He's in a white room, he's wearing the same stuff, so it has that Inception-like ending of like what is real and what's not. I think because when they make him kill her, that to me is the signifying of this is a real thing. But if it would have ended without him killing her, I would have, oh yeah, we don't really know. But I think that was to show, no, he's just completely gone now. And like he's just like, even look at the way he reacted with the first therapist. He didn't like her, but he didn't hunt her down. He didn't kill her. She didn't even feel that offensive, even just him like laughing to himself, like, oh, you won't get it. He murders her to leave that room. And it's just, he's gone. He's just that point now. He's probably just Joker. He's not even Arthur anymore. Like he's sprinkled in there, but just a great great set, great scene, the visuals, the white
Mhm.
room, and you know.
It's true. Yep.
And they used the Cream song "White Room" when he got arrested, so it's kind of fun that they use that song. And then 5 minutes later, he's in just this white room.
Right.
So
Cool.
some fun stuff in there. So
I liked when he was kind of singing along to the lines
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
oh
creepy,
yeah,
right?
that was creepy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Oh, this movie has so many good moments.
Yeah.
Just goes to show that he's got something else going on in his head, and apparently in
Yeah.
that particular moment, he had a full on song playing
Yeah.
with trumpets and keyboards and everything in between.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Joker.
Also, I've said this many times with
Ooh, say it once more.
Walken's performance is absolutely
Walking.
amazing. And just like one more thing I've been trying to find the right moment to say is that I feel like I've said it in a couple different ways, but I haven't said it in this way in particular, so I'm going to say it
Oh.
anyways.
I like this.
I just like a couple moments where just the gritty realism of the film as a whole, but the way he portrays Arthur Fleck in some moments, it's not just it doesn't solely focus on his mental illness, and it's not like he's always slinking in the corners and he's always out of luck, and he always has something dark to say, and it's not overly characterized. Like there's a few moments where he feels like a real person, and then these bad things, like he has obviously this laugh and stuff, but he feels like a real person underneath. He still interacts with the other characters in a way you would expect someone else, like a regular person, to act. The way his emotions and his aspirations on his own, the way he's confident in some situations and he's not in other situations. And I for me, at least, he just has a couple lines the way when he talks to characters where he talks to them like you wouldn't. He feels like a regular person, and the one that really stood out to me was when he was outside the hospital after his mom had this stroke, and the detectives are talking to him, and he just has this confidence and almost hatred in his voice, and like he's just does not have time for those detectives. And when he's just talking to them, he's basically just giving them a piece of his mind, and it's really good to see that from someone. He's not quite the Joker yet. And to see that variety, and that he's not just like slinking down on his luck and always trying to like just like taking the blows. It just moments like that where he's walking away and they ask him about the card, and he just like confidently says like, "It's like, is this a part of your acting?" He's like, I forget the exact line.
I think
he
he's
says,
just
like,
what do you think?
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, and he just tosses a cigarette away and walks away from them.
Walks into the door.
Yeah, and it's like these detectives are talking to you, asking questions about this murder, and he's not just like all suspicious and like trying to avoid questions or something. He just gives them a piece of the mind and just walks away. And he just doesn't have anything to do with them, and just moments like that.
It's kind of reflective
the way
when he's able to not just fall into the coughing fits or the laughing fits, right?
It's really just moments like that are just so. It rounds out the character so nicely.
Some little thing I want to show. I loved when he walked down when he got fired from the clown thing of like the don't forget to smile. He takes the spray paint, and it's just fun. He does just little fun stuff. What was something like the dark,
like writing that on Murray's dressing
put on a
room
happy face. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I loved the dark comedy beats. We talked about the when he kills that guy, but when he like pretends he's gonna jump at the little person.
Such a good moment.
Because I did laugh. It was like a nervous laugh because I didn't think he was gonna psych him out there, but he did. Like and that just shows how like lost he's getting. Because in this moment he just murdered someone, but he's like joking around with them. But when he gets back to that door and it's locked, it's just, man, is he actually gonna make it out? You just don't know.
Or
But
is
it's
that all
such
calculated? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's such a good moment. In the kids' hospital when he's dancing, that gun flops out.
Yeah.
That's just so good. It's part of my act. Like, what do you mean? And just another
I
little.
forgot to punch out. Just
Oh
destroy
yeah.
the
Just and you see like that dark Joker here, and then the other thing I like that when we're talking about just little moments of him down on his luck, I love that he got beat up and the sign got broke over him, and the guy's like, "Oh, if you don't bring the sign back, I'm gonna take out your paycheck." And I love that it's just like the score. There's no dialogue. It starts like fading away, and they just zoom in on Arthur, and he's just like smiling. But then the next time they go to him, he's like really sad, depressed, he's crying, and it shows just like he's trying to put on a happy face. But just that moment, just like this guy, even if it's just like the little most minuscule thing, he can't catch a break. This guy's gonna charge him for this stupid ass sign. It's just it's just little stuff like that. So it's very well done, and
What a beautiful movie.
And the last thing I had, as far as I know, is I noticed that anytime he gets beat up by those guys, he gets beat up by a bunch of kids. But when he's starting to dip more into Joker, or he's really wanting to find something out, like he overpowers that guy at the Arkham Asylum with the folder and everything. We've been set up that he's a really frail guy who can get beat up easily. But we already talked about the talk show when he almost is like tapping into the Joker stuff. It's like the adrenaline. It's that to me is like a real world aspect where people talk about like people can lift cars and they got adrenaline. It's almost like for him when he's like dipping into that madness, he is a bit stronger. He can like get up from a car accident where before these, I don't know, 12, 14-year-old kids just beat him. I know there's a lot of them, but still they're all smaller, but they take him out pretty easily. And he won, like even on the train too, one punch he's down, so that was my last thing on for notes.
Yeah, I'm out of notes as well.
Briggs, anything?
I'm all done.
I think you already know, so I'm dropping the big old 10 on this.
Oh, yeah.
I had to. This movie just feels...
When was your last 10? Was it Endgame?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Endgame.
Right.
Only 3 this year. You should be happy, 1 year. This year's been a very disappointing year, but this film did not disappoint me. The best way I can say is just, this film just felt like a trance. The entire time I was watching it, I was in awe because I couldn't believe I was watching, but it was just... I couldn't believe that they were doing this, and it was so well done. It's like we live in this world where there's this Joker movie, and it's very artsy, it's very ballsy, it takes a lot of risks, it's well acted, it's well shot, it's well directed. And now that Todd Phillips, I like the Hangover movies, I like old school, but he's become a name no matter what he does next, which I think he's doing that Hulk Hogan biopic potentially. But either way, like whatever it does, whether it's that, whether it's another addition to this universe, I will now be having to see what he's going to do. It's much like Ari Aster with Hereditary and Midsommar. Like Midsommar, I was not like in love with, but I'll be there the next time he does something.
Yeah.
And if Todd Phillips can, who knows with the next one, but if he can keep up this quality, whether it's in a comic world or not, I will be there and I want to see, because if he did this with this genre,
it's back on the radar.
Yeah. So just thrill this movie. It's everything I wanted. It's everything I hoped for. And yeah, I think it's a paradigm shift for comic book movies. I think it's just, you have certain ones, Avengers, Dark Knight, Batman 89, Black Panther, Wonder Woman. You have these just milestones in the comic book culture where you see, oh, this is where it changed, and some people might say, why Wonder Woman, Black Panther thing there? Wonder Woman was like the first time this female led went to like huge success. Black Panther was like a 75% black crew. Like there's times where you'll pinpoint where, oh, it really changed here for the genre. And I think this will be a time where people will, whether it's fans or creators, will watch this. I think there will be other directors now that see this and go, I've always wanted to tell a realistic story about Killer Croc. I want to do, I want to tell a story.
Taylor Field.
Yeah. I want to tell a story about, like, this is one thing I was going to pitch on an episode coming up. I'll kind of spoil it here. It's just like, I want to do a Poison Ivy movie where she loves plants, but it's like really global warming, environmental centric, like all these sort of things, whether it's Superman, Red Sun, he lands in Russia instead of America. All these kind of...
you hear this, DC? Hire this man.
Well, all these like what ifs are potential now, and they're possible. Where if this film, I think, would have failed, it would have been put it back a little bit, like
maybe we'll follow the formula.
Yeah, and that's why I love that. Like Joker, we're not following any formula, so love this movie. Can't wait to see it again. I'm definitely going to see it again one more time, and I'm excited for... I was going to ask, we're going to have this discussion, but when Golden Geeks roll around, does he fall in the villain category? Like, I know he'll be in that best actor, like, no, pool talking about, but...
Yeah, this one's a weird one
Yes.
because honestly, structurally, it's like, this is not really a geek film. This is like very much like an Oscar sort of film. So to me, it doesn't feel like even a Golden Geek sort of movie. I don't even know where to put any of it, but
I definitely know where I got 2 in there. I definitely did in that acting for sure. Joaquin's getting some love there, but love this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we broke it all down. We didn't really have anything negative to say. I think that goes to show in all 3 of us, which usually that is, like, between the 3 of us, that does usually not happen. Usually we have more beef on things. But yeah, I was just totally captivated the whole time. I'm always a big fan of world building when it's done correctly, so that definitely blew me away. And the acting from Joaquin is just one of the best performances I've ever seen, and I want to go back and watch all this guy's movies now, and I want to go watch more DC stuff, and I think that just goes to show how much, or how powerful this movie was for me, when it probably wasn't made for me, but I just ended up liking it anyway because of how good it is. Briggs.
I'm just going to drop a clean 10 out of 10.
Oh,
and
a clean 10
it just feels right.
Not a faltering 10 out of 10.
And clean.
It's
unlike Gotham,
you got
clean.
the 10.
Crisp, clean walks.
You got the 10 right beside the other 10. It's the 100%, I guess, is that's what it is.
Yeah,
one out of one.
And I think because like someone like Dylan doesn't drop numbers anymore, but for me, like I always got preferences of 10s. I don't think like any movie in the world is perfect. You could literally pick something, but for me, it's just my enjoyment level and what they succeed for. So
you know what I will say is, it's not really the movie, but before the movie, they did this with fucking Star Wars as well, where they had like I feel like a 10-15 minute reel of like talking about the movie, talking about Joaquin's career, talking about
that was just our theater specifically.
Yeah, I fucking hate that. Please, movie theaters watching this, don't do that. To me, it really took me.
And it's like releasing tomorrow.
Yeah, thankfully the movie had me
today.
hooked in the first like minute, but like that really takes me out of it. I don't like having the illusion broken, especially for someone who doesn't know Joaquin, like to see all these roles he's played. I don't want that. To me, this guy is this Joker character.
Just go back to the trivia, when they do the blurred out face and like who was this actor?
You're just showing
yeah,
up to
fucking
movies
put
too
Tanner
early.
Zipchin back on the screen. Give me my man.
Oh no, I don't know about
Dylan,
Tan.
you're just showing up to the movies too early.
I feel like we got there pretty much.
We did, yeah. But
and I'm usually like a couple minutes late.
I will say
give
also,
me another 3 car commercials. I don't want to see that.
John Con. I will say a big shout out to. I forgot that they had the classic Warner Brothers logo as well to start this film. It was.
I was wondering what was up with that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was a new one or what.
And I loved all the when they do the credits. It was all old, like nice stylized yellow writing. They credit him as Arthur Fleck, not Joker. So it's just fun little things. Just like they feel like they thought about little stuff. So. We hope you enjoyed that review. It was very disappointing. Yeah, no post-credit scene. Sorry, Taylor. But I think I sat.
Not even Tony with the hammer.
No, yeah. I sat there because I wasn't waiting for the scene. I was just like, oh man, I need to decompress here. So
yeah, no, it definitely lets you just chill.
Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, like I said before, leave us a review, subscribe, because we got lots of stuff coming out. We got, like I said, Zombieland, Breaking Bad movie. We got 24-hour stream. We got Star Wars coming up, The Mandalorian. If you liked what we did here, review here, you can follow us along the jury, because this next October, November, December is going to be like the Joker. It's going to be fucking insane. So I thank you very much for tuning into this. Whenever you hear from us next, all the stuff is down below. All the links, video, audio,
the links,
all there.
You know where the links are.
And they're not boring.
They're not boring.
Later, nerds.
Bye.